Okay, we're live. Let's go.
Come on.
Okay, good. Afternoon and evening, teammates. Okay, so for part A, we're going to choose two of these items to discuss. And as we said before we started, we all agreed on item A4 and item A5, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so who would like to begin first? Okay, well, for me, I guess I'll go. So I'll read it. Using the questions and likely scale below, assessing the leadership over half the customer service of a coworker, and also provide context and explanations for your. This one, well, I work two jobs, so I can say job one and job two, my coworkers are totally different. With Starbucks coworkers, everybody has their own different type of vibe and how they do customer service. But I have one coworker who I like how she runs her shifts and she handles doing everything perfectly. Her name is Jess. Jess has been basically one of the original partners left besides me that hasn't left the store. And she has been asked to be in ASM, which I feel like she deserves it because the way she does her style of leadership is totally different from everybody else. She's more laid back and kind of like fun to be around, but when it comes to trying to coach, her coaching skills are superb. She takes the time to make sure you understand what it is that you're doing. And if you don't understand it, then she'll help you out and go back versus to where everybody else just throw you to the wolves and be like, you gotta defend for yourself. Versus job two. Job two is be honest, is a high school. Everybody is childish, um, no mannerisms. They say whatever they feel, do whatever they want. And it's because you're in a stadium and you're working for baseball teams and football teams, they feel like they can do whatever they want. But when you're in customer service, you always have to follow the customer is always right. But then sometimes the customer is not always right.
Gotcha. Did you want to try and rate them on this Likert scale on some of these questions, some specific ones, or do you want to move on?
Okay, for Jess, I give her a 10 for A. Says personal examples of what expect from others. B, because I'm not with her all the time, so I'll give that one a 7. C is a 10. D, 8. E is 8. F, 7. G, 10. H is a 9. I is an 8. And J is a 9. K gives members of the team lots of. Again, because I'm not with her, I would have to say a 6.
It sounds like a high caliber individual.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll go next. I'm going to talk about my boss. His name's Dave. He is a real company man, by the book, very conservative. I was going to first discuss his communication style and why I think it's ineffective. So this would refer to the 360 SurveyMonkey questions, like questions 8, 9, and 10. Exercises good judgment on communicating individual information about team members, communicates important information to our team to the right people in our larger organization, and communicates important information about our organization to the right external people. So my comments would be, he does a good job of communicating, but he doesn't really craft the message to how it's applicable to our team. He just kind of reads the corporate propaganda. And I think it would be more effective if he kind of read the communications that came out, the changes in the business, and then say, okay, let me level with you guys. Here's what it means for us, for our team. But he doesn't do that. He just kind of, reads the memo verbatim, and then basically, okay, we got to do that. And he doesn't really try to like level with us and speak to how it would affect our team. Down towards the bottom, 23, 24, 25 creates an atmosphere of team cooperation, creates an atmosphere of competition, and creates an atmosphere of team cooperation over competition. I think he does a great job of balancing that. We have metrics and scorecards that we rate all of our team members on, and he makes it a little bit competitive, but then it's never really held over your head as far as, hey, you're in last place, or hey, why are you so low? He kind of uses it and encourages team members to compete with each other, but not in a way that's punitive. So those ones stood out to me. Up to the 360 questionnaire, I'll just pick a couple of them. Praises people for a job well done. He's very good at that. We have a system in our company intranet where it's called True Blue Awards. You can nominate people and they get points, and they can spend those points on gift cards and stuff. And he's always handing out the swag for a job well done. So he does a really good job with that. Experiments and takes risk. I'm gonna rate him low on that. He's very conservative, and I think that he's kind of scared of his own shadow as far as the larger organization is concerned. So he's not really one to take any risks. He kind of makes you take the risks, and so I kind of feel like I'm always having to stick my neck out. So I would rate him maybe like a 3 or a 4 in that. He needs to do a better job there. So that's a personal example. I'd say yes, he's a hard worker. He's in before everyone. He's still working late past everyone. It's like he's a real hard worker. So I'd give him usually a 9 for that. Actively listens, I would say 8 or a 9. That's really important. You can tell when someone's reading an email on a conference call or not really listening to you. So, I struggle with that. Sometimes some of my team members will be talking to me and I'll be like reading an email or something, and then I miss what they say. It's super embarrassing. So that's one that's important to me, but he does a great job with that. He always has my full, or I always have. He always is at full attention when I'm talking. I'll say a 9. And that's my boss, Dave. I'll pass it over to whoever wants to go next.
Sounds like a good man. All right, who's up?
I can go. Basically, the one that I decided to talk about was I also rated my boss, Amy. I did her based off of the never to always degree chart. So basically, a few of them I did was so for me, I think that she could be a really effective leader if she just kind of changed a few ways she does things. So for number one, exchanges information and offers information freely. I said rarely because there's a lot of times where things are not communicated or miscommunicated. Where, for example, one day it's like, hey, she never told me that this person wasn't coming into their shift because she accidentally scheduled them and she didn't find any coverage or anything. And I was like, where's blah, 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 blah. So I'm blowing up their phone and they're like, I'm not even in town. I requested this day off and I got scheduled anyways. And I was told that it was fine. It was figured out. And no one communicated anything to me. So that obviously screwed me over. And so that is not a good thing. And she does stuff like that quite often. So that's definitely something she needs to fix. She's not good at communicating about that kind of stuff. And then number 5, where it says offers constructive feedback when appropriate. I put she always does. She's always coaching us constantly on the floor. The issue is that she doesn't do it in the right way. She, for example, a funny way to put it, she doesn't put the lube on first. She just goes right in. She'll just literally be like, that's not right. This is this and this. And she's just not very nice about it. So people always take it as her being condescending. They'll come to me and be like, I just don't know what she wants. She just feel it just doesn't feel right the way she does things sometimes. And I feel it too. So it definitely stresses people out. Dude, I know there was an She is, so the communicate important. Number 10, information about our organization. She's really good about that. We always talk about big stuff that's going on. If her DM tells her to communicate something to us, she always definitely does it, and she makes sure that we understand it so that we don't mess anything up or do anything wrong. I guess recently there's been a lot of scammers in our district, which makes sense. I've gotten them before, and I'm really good at seeing through people, even over the phone. And I'm like, you're full of crap, whatever. But he's really big on the scammers right now because somebody just went and gave some person $13,000 in gift cards because they said they are part of corporate. And I'm like, that makes no sense to me. I can totally, who would just do that? And then encourages. Number 17, encourages teamwork between the coworkers. She's always encouraging teamwork. She doesn't want us to feel like we're competing against each other. We need to feel like a team and we're cohesive, or else we won't work well together. So competition really isn't a great thing at Starbucks. We want to feel like we're always on an equal level, and she does do a good job at that. Number I don't know. That's all I got, really. Just trying to think. Yep.
Sounds like she's got some good and some bad. Overall, would you say she's a good leader?
I don't really care for her. I
Honesty.
Yeah, no, I don't. Like, I've had my moments with her where I'm like, I can see that being a good thing, but more often than so, I don't agree with the things she does. I don't agree with the things she says.
You prefer someone who puts the lube on.
Yeah, I would.
Oh my God.
It's easier to receive information with it.
You can tell it's Saturday night. I'm ready.
Wait, Taylor, I have a question to ask you. You said that she gave out gift cards?
No, a partner, a shift supervisor at another store, was contacted and said, like, hey, we're part of corporate. We need this, like, immediately. Like, you can get in trouble, and you can get in trouble if you don't do it. And this person,
wait,
like,
she's one of the people that we all get coached about.
yes, this person seriously believed it and, like, went and paid out money for like $13,000 worth of gift cards.
Oh no!
And now RDM is like, make sure your shifts know.
And now we all get those notifications that are like, if you get any calls, don't give out information.
I'm like, I've had people come in and like the day after they bought something and say that they left it there when I watched them walk out the door with it. And I'm like, I watched you walk out the door with it yesterday, so I'm sorry I can't do anything about however you lost your object. I can't do anything about that. I'm not gonna beat around the bush with you. I know you're messing with us.
Oh, you sound like me at work.
You're trying to get something for free. I'm not. No. No.
And they always want free stuff too. They'll act a straight
Like,
nut for some free
okay,
stuff.
whatever. I could care less. Take your free drink and get out. But you're trying to get like a free $40 cup. No. You bought that yesterday and you walked out the door with it. You know, you're trying to say you forgot it here.
All right, well, I'm down to go next. So I'm going to talk about one of my fellow supervisors. Her name is Suko. And she used to be a store manager, but then she decided to go back to school to become a nurse, and it was like too much. So she stepped down to supervisor and went to a different store. And she kind of, even though she's not our manager, she kind of is looked at as our manager by like everyone, like even our actual store manager goes to her for everything. So she is tenured and she's a single mom, so she's like very strong. She like is very like by the books and she knows all the standards, but she doesn't like, she's also like pretty chill and everyone knows they can like come to her for stuff. So one of the first ones that stood out to me was what are these questions? The SurveyMonkey questions. Number 3, listens and clarifies to ensure understanding. I think that like this is one of the things that I love about Suko the most is you never don't understand what she's saying, because after every sentence she'll be like, is that making sense? But she doesn't say it like a condescending way, but she'll be like, you know what I'm talking about? Or she'll just say like, do you have any questions or whatever? And she always like makes sure to clarify, and she does it in a way that makes you feel comfortable. So if you actually don't know what she's talking about, you're not like, oh no, I got you. You're like, no, I need you to explain that differently because you don't make sense. So she's like very thorough in like explaining things, and I feel like she's just good at like communicating well. Receives constructive feedback willingly. Number 6, I would say almost always. Sometimes she can get like a little defensive just because, you know, she's kind of set in her ways because she's been with Starbucks for a really long time. So sometimes it could be hard for her to like with new adjustments. If she has to change like the way she's always been doing things, and it's kind of hard and people are like, hey, you're not doing things the way you're supposed to these days, she can kind of get defensive. But at the same time, I think that when it comes to like problems, like relatively recently, we had a partner who felt that Suko's reactions to like their personal problems outside of work and how it affected their work. She doesn't really have like any like, you know, patience for that stuff. She's like, whatever's going on outside of work, you need to like leave at work, which I think is true to an extent. But then like this partner was just like going through some serious stuff. And it wasn't that they like, it was just that they were very emotional. And so when she got feedback about that, I was impressed that she was able to just take it and be like, you know what, like I didn't really think of it from their perspective, and I do need to be like a little more understanding with what people are going through and how like that might, it's not an excuse every day, but it might be an excuse sometimes, you know what I mean? And then number 11 is willing to speak up and take a stand for what is right. I would say that she always is like very confident and very like fearless when it comes to like standing up for what she believes is right. So she's really good at that. But then when you get to number 12 and it says exercises good judgment on when it is right to speak up and take a stand, I would say often, because sometimes it does become too much. Like that's one of the reasons why she got that feedback from a partner that she was being kind of like not sympathetic. It was because just like her reaction and her comments, like she's brave in making her comments and like what she believes, but sometimes like it can kind of like cross the line. So I think sometimes that's something that she needs to work on. Speaks effectively and articulately, I would say nearly always, because she's usually like very to the point and like professional and everything, but sometimes it gets a little like she could work on it, because when she's mad, it's not like that. Number 15, willingly shares knowledge with team members always. Like, I feel like she is probably the most knowledgeable about just like being a partner in general, not just like her position, but just all of the positions, because she's done all of them that you could do in a store. She's the most knowledgeable of all of us, and we all like kind of look to her. So, and she's always like so down. Like if she sees someone like struggling, or if she just notices something, she'll always pull them aside and like help them out and show them the right way. Number 18, encourages teamwork and cooperation between departments. I would say always, because our team members like had no relationship outside of work until she came to our store, and then she started like kind of like inviting people to do group things. And I feel like that can really build like morale and encourage cohesion when everyone like kind of has an understanding of who everyone is. It like makes you respect one another more, you know? And that just helps people cooperate better, because everyone can get into like their little groups within the bigger group, and then people don't always understand each other. Like there's always like this rivalry and stuff between like morning crew and night crew. And then when you actually like hang out, you realize like, hey, they don't suck. Like, and then let's see, believes in working hard to achieve individual performance. I would say always. She is very proactive about just like self-development. I think that also comes with like the fact that she's a mom. I think that like you just become a little more like, I got to do this. You know what I mean? Like I got to get to the next step. So yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think that she's a really good leader. There's some stuff that she needs to like work on, but I think for the most part, she's like who I always go to and who I look up to the most. And she encouraged me to become a supervisor. So I think she's really good at like, I don't know, making people see their full potential like she did with me. So yeah, that's all I have about her.
I agree with you on the morning crew and night crew shift, because we do it.
Yeah.
I think that's any job. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, they don't do their job. Or it's like, oh, I don't feel that way. I feel
You
like,
only see your side of it. You never see them, and it's easy to place.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah, I was
like,
a
well,
night
why
shift
didn't you do that in the morning? Well, I had these morning tasks, and like the night.
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
Oh well, morning has more to do than night. No,
Yeah.
night has more to do. you. Like,
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
we all got a lot to do. Can't we all just get along?
for sure.
Okay.
So I guess I will
Yeah.
go. I'm the last one to talk, I guess. So
Yeah.
I will talk about my boss Milton. I mean, I feel like Milton has a lot of awesome qualities. Like he's taught me a lot. I think the biggest thing with him is like I think through like getting older and working and doing the job of retail, like he kind of like wants to do his thing and like let's get this stuff done. He's very task oriented, but he doesn't want to do the side of like leading like or training as much as like he did in the past. Like he has so much knowledge, but the biggest thing with him is like getting him to tell the knowledge. Like if you ask him questions, he'll tell you, but like a lot of things like with like associates and like the managers below us, it's like him not like giving them the information or like not passing that on to them so they know what to do. Like sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So like the biggest thing is like passing that information on. Like he's passed it on to me. So like a lot of times I feel like I'm not the GM, I'm the assistant. So yeah, I know like it's my job to pass that information on too. But sometimes I feel like you're the GM, so you should be doing that more. So that's the biggest thing with him. I mean, like obviously like he knows his stuff and like we run a good store, but there has been times before I came to that store before I switched like jobs, like the store was in rough shape because he wasn't passing on some of the information that he could. So the biggest things that like I guess listens and clarifies to ensure understanding. Like if you like me, like I know what's going on or I'm asking questions, like obviously like he does listen, he clarifies and gives complete understanding to me. I think the message to like certain other managers, he's not passing that on. And like we've even talked about that, like other people learn different ways or like how to do certain tasks, like writing it down for them. Some people can just like, oh, he told me to do this, this, and this. But other people, you need to write it down or like say it in different steps. So we've definitely, me and him have both have worked on that together. Um, Offers constructive feedback when appropriate. I think like since he's comfortable with me or certain people, he does offer the feedback. With other people, I think he like holds it in and like doesn't offer that feedback or he'll vent it to me, but not tell it to someone that needs to know that. He just gets frustrated. So I think that's definitely a thing that he needs to work on. Exercise good judgment on communicating like individual information about team members. I think like he doesn't always communicate it to the right person, I feel like, or tell them. Like it has to like I guess build up for him to communicate that. Or sometimes it'll just come out over time. So I think he knows the information, he like knows everything that's going on, but like sometimes I just feel like he doesn't say it at the right time or waits too long. Cause you know, if you're like coaching or doing something like that, you need to like either do it on the spot, like you can't wait over time and then a bunch of things build up. Well, I didn't know that. So I feel like that happens a lot. Speaks effectively and accurately. I feel like he does that really well. Like I keep saying this, like if you know what you're doing or if you feel super comfortable, like Jeff's gonna get this, this, and this done, it goes through. But if I'm not in the store, like the 10 days I was gone, like in Minnesota, and then I left again for a couple days for another thing, like things don't get done, and like he gets frustrated. Jeff's out of the building. Well, Jeff can't always be there. Jeff's trying to like grow himself, and he tells me he wants that, but I feel like sometimes it's like we're in the busy time of the year that he doesn't want me to do that. I'm like, well, you're the GM, like I'm the assistant, so like I'm trying to grow myself and we make plans, like you just have to execute them as well. Like one day Jeff's not going to be here and Jeff is trying to help the rest of the team grow, and I feel like that's been put on me a lot, which I'm fine with, but like other ways, like when I'm not there, those other leaders could grow as well. I think the big thing, like teamwork, we definitely have. I think in the last like 6 months, we've definitely gotten more with the teamwork. I mean, we're a small like retail store. There's not a ton of team members, so you definitely have to encourage teamwork and cooperation. We even put a banner up in like our break room, like teamwork makes the dream work. Like we're like making like real strides with that. So I definitely feel like I've helped him see that where like we can't get things done without doing teamwork. So the big thing, like, creates an atmosphere of team cooperation. I definitely feel like Milton does a great job with that. Like, I think, like, overall, like, we are creating an awesome atmosphere together. Other than that, like I said, like Milton has a lot of like great attributes. Like he definitely has taught me a lot about what to do in a store and like seeing things I didn't see, like from being in a big box to being a small, the more like controllable like operations and things like that. Like he's definitely awesome with that. I think it's just the whole like leading the whole team and not just like, well, they can't do this and that. So I feel like overall Milton is a good leader, but I think it's just getting burnt out because I mean we all get to that point sometimes when you're at an age or at a job, and I just feel like when I'm there, I'm really like I feel like I encourage him and stuff. When I'm not there, I think we like go down a little bit, if that makes sense. So that's what I think and what I have over that.
I was just thinking to myself, the guy sounds burnt out.
Yeah. I think like I mean retail. I mean he worked at Kmart for what 20 some years and now 10 years at Party City. I think 30 years of retail. And if you don't want to go up anymore and you're still in like the box format of it, I definitely can feel how that's burn you out if you're not wanting to grow or go any farther.
It sounds like he just needs to learn to delegate more. Delegate that communication piece that he doesn't want to do, the training.
Yeah.
That's what you're for.
Yeah, and trust me, I do a lot of that stuff. Yeah. I think like and I think at the end of the day, like he sees that like probably in the next like 6 months I'm gonna have my own store and I'm not gonna be in that store. And I think he sees that and he's like, do I really want to start doing that stuff when Jeff takes care of all that? And he's seen that where I've been gone almost 2 weeks with other things. So I can definitely see that.
Okay.
Okay. So, one more item. I guess I'll go back and I'll talk about a different coworkers, leadership. I'll talk about Aiko. Aiko is a barista just like myself. And Aiko, how can I put her? She's one of those ones that's all over the place. You put her in a certain position and then she wants to take over everything. It doesn't matter if we're in, oh my God, what is it called? The playbook. We do playbook and it doesn't matter what we do and she wants to be in control of everything. She's helpful at times, but then she could be a little bit too demanding. She was actually transferred from a different store to our store. So she's been with us, I think now for close to a year. And honestly, I thought by now, even though she's had some bump heads with other coworkers about her style of leadership, that she would change. But she hasn't, and like she says in her culture, because she's from Japan, that they're the type that just gets things done. So for me to rate Aiko, I am going to do I'll do the Survey Monkey. So I'm gonna jump around. But for number 9, communicates important information about our team to the right people in a larger organization. That is almost never. Receives constructive feedback willingly, rarely. She'll listen to the boss, but if it's someone else speaking up on something, she does not honestly want to hear it unless it comes from a supervisor or the boss. Number one, exchanges information and offers information freely. Almost never. Is willingly to speak up and take a stand for what is right. Never. I'm gonna put it as kind of never, half rarely. Because I'm not with her all the time, even though we are part of the morning crew, but she opens majority of the time. So she speaks up when she needs to, but then it depends on what it is that's bothering her. But most of the time she'll just hold it in and just keep it to herself. She never wants to talk about it or anything else. But I will give her a good note that if it comes to a shift that needs to be covered, if she can do it, she is willing to either swap a shift with you or she will take your shift to make sure everything is good. I will give her that. But I do feel that she does need to work on certain aspects in her leadership if she plans on staying in this type of role, because I don't honestly see it happening. And she bumps heads with a lot of people. So hopefully a change will come soon.
We have a partner like that too, but this is what gets me is that he's an opener as well. So I think that when we open, a lot of times we have 2 to 3 people. So they're basically running that area by themselves for like a good hour. So they're taking orders, doing the register, and they're making the drinks most of the time. And my boss's excuse for him is that that's what he has to do every morning. So when he's doing that in the afternoon, he can't help it. And I'm like, I do the same thing. I can change my levels of intensity. Like I can do all 3 if I have to. But when it comes to it, I'm going to stay out of everyone else's way. But that's definitely an issue with people. And I don't know if it's just them, but he can't change it either. And it irritates everybody. So
oh God, yes.
I think we all probably have at least one of those.
All right. My turn. So I guess we'll do different coworker and not Arnold Van Gennep or Virginia Woolf. Go to one of my direct reports, one of my weaker guys. We'll talk about Shane. So he's a regional manager. I think he tends to rush things, doesn't get all of his facts straight before he communicates. So, or speaks. So like with regards to communicating effectively and articulately, speaks effectively and articulately, I'll say rarely. He just tends to speak too fast before he knows the answer. He assumes a lot and gets him into a lot of trouble. Bit of a slacker. So with regards to like number 20, 21, hard work to achieve individual performance. I think part of the reason why he's, just quickly responding is he just wants to be done. And so he tries to cut corners. Rarely. Yeah, I would say rarely. I would say team player. He does care about what other people think about him, so he has that going for him. Supports and encourages others, yes. I'll say often. Conducts or contributes effective meetings? No, definitely not. I think he's just not prepared, doesn't work hard enough. So it comes across when he holds a meeting, you can tell that he's not prepared and doesn't really have an agenda of where he wants to take the conference call or the meeting. And so he comes across poorly. And then receives constructive feedback. That's a big one for me. You know, if I notice something and want to give someone some feedback, you know, I think that's a good thing. You should want constructive feedback and don't take it personally, but he always has an excuse. And that comes off poorly as well. You know, I'm just giving him my honest feedback, and I'm his boss, so you'd think he would want to understand what I'm looking for. And doesn't seem to happen.
That's most people. They don't want their feedback. If they want to grow, it seems like they don't want. Like they say they want feedback, but I feel like they don't want feedback. If that makes sense.
Yeah, or they like positive feedback.
Yeah, they want that.
Good
Pat me on the back all the time. I mean, that's what it seems like. Oh, give your team positive feedback, but we don't really want to coach them.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
tell them they're doing
Well,
great, but if they're doing terrible, don't really pass that on to them.
Yeah, it is more difficult to give,
Yeah.
you know, difficult feedback, but yeah, and you know, I guess you got to self-reflect. I mean, like personally, you tend to get defensive, right? Especially if you disagree with what they're saying, even if it's your boss.
Yeah.
So I can't say I'm completely unbiased where when my boss tells me something that I'm like, dude, you're so wrong. Like,
Yeah.
he's my boss. So let's do a couple more. Up on the 360 here. Actively listens, no. Treats others with dignity, I would say yes. Experiments and takes risks, no, definitely. He's definitely just punching the clock, trying to get by with the least amount of work. He's never trying to create new processes or experiment with something new to try and get better results. He's definitely just punch the clock, get through it with the least amount of work possible. And that's Shane.
Sorry, my phone, or I didn't know if I was muted or not. My freaking laptop was frozen and I thought I got kicked off for a minute there. Okay, I'm going to go through mine really fast because this is going to be a long meeting. We still have a lot to get to. Okay,
Yeah.
So my other coworker I was going to discuss was, her name is Ivana, and she's a supervisor as well. And Ivana is a relatively new supervisor, and this is one of her first leadership positions. So I feel like she's still like learning her leadership like style and everything, and kind of like figuring it all out. So number 2, keeps the door open for questions and concerns. I would say nearly always. Oh, and I'm looking at the SurveyMonkey question. I would say nearly always she kind of, like we just discussed, it's kind of like she only really wants, like people are kind of scared because she doesn't respond well to like negative feedback. So they only feel comfortable going to her with like certain questions and concerns, you know, like if it's something that she will take like personally and get defensive about it, people don't feel like they can go to her. So I feel like that is one thing that she can work on. Number 5, offers constructive feedback when appropriate. She will always offer constructive feedback, and she's really good at it. So I would say nearly always, because sometimes it's not always when it's appropriate. Sometimes it'll be in moments when it'll like be in front of other people or something, or in a way that's not very like productive or constructive rather, but more so just like kind of sounding like an attack. And then the partner, it's not very productive for them because they just get hurt by it. Number 7, communicates important information about individual team members to other members of our team. She's one of the first people to know everything, and she'll always communicate it with everyone. So whenever we need to know something about a standard that's changing, or something coming up in a promo launch or something, they'll go to her, and she always knows. I feel like she's good about taking it upon herself to communicate those things. Number 8, exercises good judgment on communicating that individual. That one. Okay, this is about individual team members. Yeah, I mean, the same still applies. I feel like she'll always know things about people, and she shares those things. But when it comes to number 8, exercising good judgment, there's a fine line between sharing information because it's important and everyone needs to know, and sharing information because you're just straight up gossiping. So I feel like those lines get blurred quite often in retail and any job. So that's something that she can work on. Most of us can. I'll just cut it off there because I'm trying to be a little speedy, so we have time for the others.
Okay, I'll try to be fast. For my second one, I'll just do a coworker. She's also a shift. Her name is Michelle. She has been an off-and-on partner for 10 years, and she just recently came to our store about 4 or 5 months ago as a shift. So she has always been a barista, so she just now became a shift and everything. And so for the SurveyMonkey one, develops relationships among the people she works with. She's not to herself, but she doesn't really make an effort to get to know people outside of work, and I kind of understand why. I feel like she thinks that she doesn't fit in because her and her son live at a woman's shelter, which I understand where she's coming from, because she basically, her life is there and at work, and so I feel for her there, but she doesn't really make a huge effort to get to know any of us personally, which I feel like she could do better at, because it's hard to level with her on certain things and to see where she's coming from. And then makes a point to let people know his or her confidence in their abilities. I would say she's not really the best at seeing those abilities in people. She's kind of leans on other people to help her figure out what's best. So a lot of times I'll literally set up the floor for her and say, this is what you should do with everybody, and then I'll leave and she'll take over. And I feel like that, I don't mind helping, but it kind of sucks because I don't see her potential's not there really as a shift yet, even though she's been a shift for 5 months. I don't feel like she's there yet. And then treats others, yes. She does treat others with dignity and respect, but I feel like sometimes too much. She's not really good at coming to people about things that are that cause conflict. She lets people get away with stuff a lot, and then they carry on that into other people's shifts, because she doesn't feel comfortable going to them and being like, hey, we can't do that. I have seen her getting better at that with time, but I think that's more of her being irritated about getting more irritated with things, and so she's being like, hey, you need to cut that shit out, and people are actually listening to her. So that works. I used to have to do that too sometimes. And then she does not ask for feedback. She probably should. I try to give her as much feedback as I can when I'm helping her with things, and try to give her hints of how to do things better, rather than being you're not doing this right. Ensures that people grow, and I'd say no. I'd say she always takes the easy route, as she's always putting people, she just felt, I'm here, this is what needs to be done, but this is probably what's best. if she knows where everybody's best at, that's just where she'll put them, even if there's people that really need time to grow and develop in other places and they really want that. It's not usually, I don't feel like she's usually in a position to give them that time because she doesn't feel comfortable enough to just, free will it and just say, oh, well, I hope it goes right. Because I know I do that a lot. I'm like, well, we'll just try this out and give somebody some time on a space. And if it doesn't work out, I'll move it around. But it's better to give people a chance to fail than, never to give them the chance to try it all. So, I'll just leave it at that so we can move on.
Okay, well, I'll keep this as short as possible. I was going to talk about Christina. She's like the position right underneath me, and I guess the best way to describe her, I don't know if anybody's ever I'll say is she got lucky to be in a spot or that position. I guess I would sometimes say they're glorified team members. She has the title of being a manager, but she doesn't manage anything. Basically, you have to give her everything to lead. When you're not there, you can't really trust her with anything. And it's not my job to I can coach her and give her tools to do things, but that's on the other hand Milton's job to coach her or manage her to manage out. And that's one thing I talk about him not willing to do. So it's really really hard overall anything I go down this list listens and clarifies to ensure understanding I would say never really she never does that unless I make her write down a list, which I've started to do. But I feel sometimes yeah, you can give tasks and you can do things like that, but I shouldn't have to when you've been here for going over 2 years and been in this position for a year now I shouldn't have to tell you to do the normal routines. You should know that this is what we do every day. So that's never offers constructive feedback when appropriate. She's another thing. She's younger, so she wants to be friends with everybody, which we've all been there, and we want to make friends and things like that at work. But I feel every person that walks in the building that's an associate, she wants to be friends with, and can't always do that. Exercise good judgment on communicating that individual information about team members. I feel if you tell her certain things, and I've noticed that, it becomes gossips, which you're supposed to trust your management team, and definitely that doesn't happen always. So you got to watch what you say around her. So speaks effectively and accurately. I feel like she's very good. Once you give her a job, she can do that, or tell hey, Christina, tell this team member to do this when I'm not here. She can do that, but doing it on her own, never. Teamwork, the only time I feel she does teamwork is if we're there. There's not a lot of if you're not there, you don't give her tasks, she's not gonna do what she needs to do or think of things. I always think of management, it's not always your higher management giving you things. If you see something you need to be fixed, fix it. She doesn't do that at all. So the biggest thing, she doesn't, I feel she knows things, but it's she knows a lot of the simple things to do, but willingness to share the knowledge, it's kind of why don't you know that, even though we're trying to make our team better. So overall, I think Christina almost never does what you need her to do unless I said, we give her step-by-step instructions. If it was me, if I was the GM, she wouldn't be there anymore, but that's not my call. So that's about what I have with that.
All right, thank you. Okay, so moving to part B, which kind of has a lot since we all have to answer this. I was thinking we don't have to answer each one as a whole. We can just jump around since time is coming upon us.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. We could just kind of do a common, a full discussion all together about what we think about each of these.
Right. So let's do that. vote. Everybody filled out they rated themselves for number one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So for me, I'm gonna say both so you can catch. So the first one will be for 2 weeks, and my second answer will be from a year. So A, I said an 8, then a 6, 9, 5, 8, 6, 8, 4, 9, 3, 7, 2, 9, 7, 8, 2, 6, 2, 7, 1, 10, 3. So the areas I feel like I needed, still to me, I feel like I need to improve in is taking risk, because I'm still kind of nervous on doing that because I don't want to fail. I'm like, yeah, you're supposed to fail. Fail is successing, but I'm just like, I don't want to do that. And still, even though I gave myself an 8 for letter D for 2 weeks, I still feel like I need an improvement because I don't often do it when I should, but when I do, it feels good.
I agree. Just a couple of mine, like for the ones I think I need to work on, I said BI or BH and I seeks out challenging opportunities. I don't really ever really push myself over what I need to anymore because I kind of have gotten to a point where I don't always feel appreciated for when I do it. So I just kind of was like, cut it. I'm just gonna do the bare minimum, and I'm not gonna challenge myself or give more than everyone else is. And then asked for feedback. I don't really ask for a lot of feedback. I just feel like people should be able to come to me and give it to me, which I would appreciate. And I have had people do this, but usually I have to get it out of them. Like I have to literally have push them over the edge for them to come to me and tell me anything, which is kind of frustrating because I feel like I'm someone you can approach and talk to about things, but clearly not. So I need to work on asking for that feedback. And then I experiments and takes risks. I just want to get the job done and do it the way I know is right, which obviously there can be better ways sometimes. That's all I got for that one.
All right. I'll go next. I also just focus on what I want to improve upon. The ones that are sticking out to me, I mentioned this earlier, was actively listening. So I have a tendency to multitask when I'm talking to people and not really care about what they think. So I'm not really actively listening to their point of view. That's one I would say I would rate myself like a seldom. That's a big weakness. Another one that really sticks out to me is number J, ensures that people grow in their jobs by learning new skills and developing themselves. I have a tendency to take things on myself, and I just treat the Shanes of the world that I talked about. I don't have a high opinion of him, so I don't challenge him enough. I just kind of assume that he's just not going to do it, so I'll do it all myself. And I'm not engaging him to learn new things and try to develop him. So that's a 3 or a 4 for me, and I think that's a weakness in my leadership for sure. So I'll leave it at that.
Jeffrey, you don't always have to go last.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that.
I feel glad you always go last.
I don't know. Yeah. Save the best, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. I guess definitely things that I need to work on. I guess one that sticks out is ask for feedback on how his or her actions affect other people's performance. I guess that's the biggest thing. I guess when you're in a leadership, you think oh, I'm doing a great job. never really like reach out and say, what can I do better? Or what do you see that I could do better in leadership? You don't really ask that. Like, I feel like that's definitely one thing that sticks out to me that I could definitely do better. And I guess like ensures that people grow in their jobs by learning new skills and developing themselves. Like, I feel like you always get like in like, especially me, is like, what's the task in hand, instead of like taking time to like sit back and be like, I should show this person how to do this or that. That's going to make my job easier. Like a big thing, like I learned, like I had like this GM and training thing like a couple of days ago, and it was like a big like group, like, and we were talking about stuff like that. Like, yeah, there's always tasks at hand to me that need to be done, but like actually, like, what if you took the 5 to 10 minutes or 15 minutes to show this person to do that job, so they could like get that job done, like actually taking the time to teach them, so that 15 minutes you can do something else. Like, and I feel like the biggest thing is like, we're all there to grow or like make the business better. And I feel like that's one thing like I definitely need to work on. And then I think everybody struggles with this, and I definitely like, is taking the risk. Like, you follow the business plan, you follow like what you need to get done, or like what they give you, but sometimes like taking a risk or like doing something that could like help the business, or like, oh my God, like Jeff thought of that, or like the store thought of that. So like, I definitely think that taking risk is a thing I could work on, or like taking a chance to like make the business grow and see what happens if you think it's right for the business doing that. And I think those are 3 that I need to work on. So that's what I got.
Okay, so the 3 that stood out to me were J, like you guys, most of you discussed, ensuring that people grow in their jobs, they're learning new skills and developing themselves. I feel like that's something that my number for the past year was lower, and the newer one was higher, just because like I feel like I'm more aware of it now and I'm trying harder now. But I definitely kind of, in my current position, when I'm leading, I tend to get so caught up in everything on my to-do list that I can sometimes like not take the time to dedicate to that. So I definitely am trying harder. G, treats others with dignity and respect. This is one that actually I rated higher for the past year than I did for the past 2 weeks, because not that I think I treat people with less dignity and respect now, but just that I think my awareness is higher, that there's like cultural differences and biases that we all have that we haven't even like identified yet, that we just immediately sometimes like can offend people or disrespect them without us even realizing it. Like sometimes it's unintentional. And I think that I used to always think that like I was being like as respectable and like as I possibly could be, and always giving everyone like everything that they deserved. But then I realized that like everyone's different, and sometimes like I don't realize the ways that I'm not doing that. And then B, seeks out challenging opportunities that tests my skills and abilities. I think that I suck at this. I did before, and I still do. That number is probably the same. I rated it for like a 6 because I usually have to be pushed. Like I definitely don't have as much faith in myself as like everyone around me does. I feel like when I like was asked to be, I had to be asked to be a supervisor for like a year straight. And then it was like my husband and my mom and all my coworkers being like, just take it. Like I definitely don't always seek challenging opportunities to like test my full potential. I think I definitely need to get better at that. So that's it.
You guys want to roundtable that last one?
Yep, let's go for it.
I'll go first. I have strong opinions on this. Customer surveys, evaluations. I totally agree with what they're saying here, that I don't think they're that useful. At least in my organization, you know, we service, I think 20,000 customers a day or something like that. And we get these surveys, and our upper management treats them so seriously. And it's like, you know, it's a month worth of data So, you know, what's a month times 20,000? It's like a cajillion, and 2 people have complained about this one issue, and it's like,
And they
dude,
make
like,
a big deal out of it.
right? I don't think
Yeah,
it's an
like-
issue. Like I am on the front lines more day to day. I don't think that's an issue, but they don't listen to me. They hear these 2 people that were probably pissed off and about whatever. They could have, you know, got a bad drink at Starbucks on their way into work. And so, just kidding, guys.
Ruining days.
But you know what I'm saying, right? Like,
espresso in there, my 2 shots of espresso.
yeah. And I definitely left my mug here.
Yeah. Yeah, like my company is like, they take a survey and like the only thing that counts is a 5, like highly satisfied. So put it in their head, highly satisfied. Like I had a survey 2 days ago. It was satisfied, and the customer said the store was great looking. The team helped me and everything, and I could find everything. But they still gave us a 4, so it doesn't count. Like it's like it doesn't count, and it brings our score down. I'm like, we did everything we could. Like 5s are the only thing that count. Then I mean, it's just frustrating. Like you put it in their head and you do everything, and then it still like isn't counted the way they
Yeah,
don't look
same
at
way
it that
for-
way. It's just a 5. The highest is the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter about anything else, or it's just very frustrating. And that's very like you hear about it every day, and like your district manager, anytime somebody gets a 5, he sends an email to all of us. They got a 5, so then you're always thinking like, well, like what do I have to do? And like it's just like revolving like, oh, I gotta talk about a survey again, or hey, make sure
Yeah,
you're
like,
doing this. It's
especially-
very frustrating.
especially when there's like other things that you could be focused on that
Yeah.
they're definitely more important than whatever that person complained about. Like it really drives me up the wall.
Yeah. Or like a price of something. Like I have no control of a price. I can like help you and like find a deal or do things like that, but certain prices, like I have no control of that. And a customer can put a survey on there and that counts against you. That's just very frustrating.
Mhm. I feel like the problem with the surveys is like we've been on the receiving end of surveys, but also just as a customer, we all know what it's like to take a survey. We don't take them unless we've been bribed to do so, or we're super angry. You know what I mean? Like if you leave a place and you're like, that was the worst service and the worst food I've ever had. I'm so upset and I need people to know, and then they leave a bad review. Or it's like someone will be sitting there and they're like, hey, you get 10% off if you leave us a good Yelp review. Or they'll say, you know, if you take this survey, you get this for free today or whatever. And that's the only time you take a survey and leave like positive feedback. So it's like, it's definitely skewed. It's definitely not. I think that they can be beneficial in some ways, because I do know that like a lot of the things that people complain about, a lot of the same things, like with Starbucks, for instance, certain things that people complain about, like things with mobile ordering and stuff like that, like they can be constructive when corporate sees a trend of all these customers complaining about like, oh, the mobile order doesn't let us do this, or they need a more effective way for us to like pick up our mobile orders or whatever. Like I think overall they can be good sometimes, but there's just so much bias, and I feel like the motive behind them is more often than not like not in the right place, like the people's motive for taking them. So, and then when they talk about being fair and objective, I feel like they're like, you kind of need, they're codependent. You kind of need one to have the other, right? I feel like they're definitely related.
Mm-hmm.
Because being objective means being neutral, and then like being fair means being equal. And so I feel like it's kind of like,
I mean, but you kind of notice that we don't get treated equally, because it's like they want to be assholes.
mm-hmm.
So I mean, Starbucks. Yeah, I'm just being for real. It's like we have these. Like I just found out we get rated. Like Starbucks sends random surveys to customers, and they ask us, well, how was the speed of service today, and how was your visit? And it's like you're randomly sending this email to people, and then they're like, oh, well, this was fine, but this person did this, and this wasn't done. So then it's like, okay, you're rating the whole experience, but then she said our score jumped from 22 to now 27 on store experience. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? You're trying to make it a third place where we're like, okay, we make it a third place, but then you have the people who come in who are either their laptops are being stolen, they're trying to steal tips, they're doing whatever they want, saying that their animal is a service animal, but it's not.
Clearly
but then,
not.
you know, and when you
Oh yeah,
see,
that's every day. They just put a little vest over him, like put it right over top. He's a service dog.
right.
Go leave a Yelp review.
Or even speaking of Yelp, they want to run to Yelp about, oh, well, this person did this, but clearly you don't state what you did to initiate it. You always want to blame the barista for having this, but clearly, what did you do? They don't do that.
I get it.
Retail, what's the life we live?
Do you guys do surveys a lot, or do you tend to not do them? Because I just said that. I said that I usually don't unless my experience is like exceptionally bad or like exceptionally good and like continuously good.
Yeah.
Because,
I feel like I know what a survey does to a store, like how it feels. So I'm just like, I'm not even gonna do a survey because I know, like, yeah.
I've had times where I've like continuously went to a place and it's like always good, and I'm like, you know what, they deserve a good review to like help them out.
Yeah.
Because some people might not see how good they're doing.
Or it's like you leave the store and you're like, I want to do a survey, and then you like throw the receipt away, or you do something like that, and you don't, and you forget about it. You're like, man, I wanted to give that survey for him, but I forgot.
But I usually try to give people the benefit of the doubt. So like,
yeah, I feel like I try to be fair.
It's like, oh, they're probably just having a bad day, or they could just be having a bad day. Like, you know, stuff happens. Like, I've done stuff before where I'm like, crap, you know, I messed up or whatever, or I'm just having a bad day. So I do give people the benefit of the doubt. But if someone's like being offensive, or someone's like being inappropriate or making me feel uncomfortable, then I'm probably going to do something about it, because I don't want anyone else to feel like that. So that person probably shouldn't be there. But that's about it. I usually don't.
I
don't know. That's all I got.
I changed my answer for the fairness or objective thing though, because I feel like when you're filling out a survey, being fair is like filling out what you genuinely feel, like what that you think they deserve based off what you like your experience.
Yeah.
Whereas being objective, like always being down the middle and like being Switzerland and not being like you would always be saying like sometimes, or they're good. You're not saying like they're exceptional. You're not saying if they're bad. You're not giving like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that feedback is like good in a way, but when stores don't take that into account, like you said, it doesn't matter unless it's the best score for all of us. So like if we're not taking those other scores into account, like, you know what, if they're like a 5 out of 7, you know, they're really good, but they could do better at this. Like they're not thinking about that and using it to make the company better, which is that's where surveys.
Because I know that like with the Starbucks ones, it's like corporate sees certain things and they're like, okay, let's do this, and like they're giving us these results to these, you know, surveys. But to us, to all the partners, we look at them and we're like, oh yeah, but you know, what about like this customer? They're always biased, and like this, because we see the people on Yelp and we know those customers and stuff like that, you know. And so we're always thinking like they're to blame, they're wrong, their survey answers are biased, they're not correct. Like that's not an accurate depiction of our service. Like that, we all get defensive. We're not like, or if we are motivated to make the scores better, it's often like, I feel like everyone only does it if we bring the scores up, then there's this incentive. But sometimes that's what it takes. Like, honestly, I don't think that it's changing for us, our surveys. We haven't seen like any improvement really, but maybe if like Starbucks was giving us some incentive, like maybe then we take it more seriously.
That is one thing that like we started doing at Party City. If you get like 5 highly satisfieds, then you get like a $10 restaurant gift card the associate does. And then you get 10, you get a $20, and then you get 15, you get a 30, and then you get 20,
and
you get a 40.
Yeah.
That's one thing that Starbucks
incentive for them. Like, I guess you gotta look at. It's just. I guess they want. How I get it is like they want you to be perfect all the time. Sometimes you need like. I guess.
Yeah, it's like how our book says, like, celebrate the small wins. Like if you do little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Starbucks has kind of lower standards, considering that they only want us to meet a 30% like good ratings, which is, I mean,
like we're all just
hard to make.
Oh wait, I think
we're like happy.
Mediocrity is good. Like
everybody happy, so that makes less sense.
Improvement.
Where I'm at is when I don't like. For me, at my store, we're only about a year old, so customers are just now like getting to know us and like turning us into their store and like their third place and all of that, and like our score had been stuck at a 22 for like 8 months, and that's considerably like very, very low for any store. And I was like, I don't see what we're doing wrong. Like I feel like we're not like
it's hard.
we're not like not nice like. And then like we had like this big district-wide meeting about scores. Like we went up to a 35, and I'm like, are we just going like I don't think we're doing anything different. I feel like we're doing everything the same. Like how is the scores getting better? And then we went up to a 45, and I'm like, wait, how do we have a 45 here? Not that nice. Like now I'm starting to see it. Like how we were like I'm not that nice to people. How did the score go up? But I'm like, whatever. I don't get it. I don't get how they work, to be honest.
I mean, I guess.
That's it.
That's how we feel.
Yeah, I think that concludes everything. We're good.
Good. Great job.
Good job, team.
20.
Yes. Good work.
Yeah.
All right. Good meeting, guys.
Okay, I'm going to stop the broadcast. Hold on.